Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
Hey, what is going on? What's going on, travelers? We are back with you again on the Success Journey Show. I am here with Ricky Venters, your host and co-host Marlon Madden. Marlon, what's good, bro? How you doing today?
I don't know. You sound like you about to be at a rodeo or something.
I got the glasses on today, man. So
yeah. I put them on too. You guys are gonna see. I'm gonna tell you that we actually taped this intro after the show that we actually did. So it's gonna be a funny real part that Ricky put on his glasses, and I just got these glasses. I had them right beside me, coincidentally, and I put them on and. We wanted to die during the episode, but what the lady was talking about was so interesting that we had to stay in character. So but how you doing, Rick?
Oh man, I am good, dude. I am blessed. I'll say that, man. I am blessed, man. You know, you just go through the motions of things in life and take things as they come. You know, went by our house. That's being built. And I don't even talk about it much on a podcast. Yeah. But you know, my family has been in transition for the past 6 months now. Mm-hmm. And it's been a wonderful experience, man. And just connecting more as a family and everything that we're going through and all that kind of stuff. But then having that hope, my wife called it the House of Hope. House of Hope, man. And,
House of Hope.
Yeah, and you get into that.
Not like a Superman. Jarrell had something of hope.
The
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
The castle, ice.
The ice, the crystals and all that stuff. Yeah. So House of Hope, man, is coming along. You know, it looks great. The cabinets are in, the sheetrock painted walls, the trim, and, you know, it just. You know, you walk in there, you're like,
room
wow.
In there.
Yeah, right.
It has my room in there, so it's all good.
Yours and T's, not just yours.
Yeah. My T's.
Not trying to make it seem like she kicked you out or anything, but but yeah, dude, it is an amazing experience to see it from beginning to end. And I remember, I think last episode or episode before was talking about the real estate. I said, oh man, it'd be good to go through a process of, you know, building something and doing it. And I'm thinking, man, like, wait a minute, I'm doing that already. My own house. You know, you just forget about these things, man. But yeah, man, extremely blessed, man. Grateful to God for just the opportunity. And when we get further along, I have an amazing testimony to share with that and through that. Man, guys, it's just God, man, just opening up doors and just allowing us to, when you have dreams and desires that you want to fulfill in life, you know, and when you're moving and you don't feel like they're moving in a direction that you want them to move in, and your plans get altered, and it's like you get that point of like, oh man, like what's gonna happen here? Like, oh man, I wanted this, I wanted that. And then when you see what God now birthed for you on the other end of it.
Yep.
Yo, it is beautiful. And we talk about that a little bit today with our guest. So we really want you guys to stay tuned with our guest and today so that she can share exactly what her journey's been like and sharing that exact similar story of going through things. So Marlon, listen, man, I got a hookup for you today. You don't even have to do the introduction of the website and everything. Man, we put a lot of work in the past, man. I kind of pulled that all together for little quick commercials. So, you don't even got to worry about it, man. That's going to play right now. And right after that, we will jump into our guest. So, travelers, stay tuned.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show. You can check us out on our social media on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Also on our website, thesuccessjourneyshow.com. Enjoy the rest of the show. All
right, travelers, we are back. I hope you like those little short commercials that I've been putting in there. Just a reminder, hey, man, we have some things on our website. We have some previous episodes. We also have some merchandise, whether it be book or traveler's book bag, laptop bag, I should say. We also have our books as well as our t-shirts. Man, go on there and shop. If not for you, for someone else, I mean, who doesn't want the message of dream, drive, discipline, and diligence? Thank you for backing up so I can read it in order. Sometimes I forget. But yeah, guys, it's not for you, for someone else. Go ahead and just purchase those. And like we always say every week, it's not just for us. You know, we have invested and committed to support organization in the Prince George's County, right? Is it Prince George's County, Marlon?
Prince William County.
Prince Williams County. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say the organization's name again one more time.
It's a Prince William County foundation. What is basically, you know, last year they fed 40,000 families in the Prince William County. So we're giving proceeds from our sales to them, and they're also one of our sponsors when it comes to the podcast. So we're trying to get a building because we're trying to put everything in the building, i.e. tech, every kind of amenities that somebody in the community needs. We're trying to put it in there. So that's one of our goals that we're trying to do, trying to raise $5 million if you want to know. So if you're out there and you got $5 million laying around and you just want to shoot it our way for a good cause, let us know.
Yeah. We'll collect it. Oh yeah, yes, sir. So like every single week we come to the best portion of our show, as where we bring a guest on. And today we are honored to have none other than Yariela Kerr-Donovan. Yariela, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the Success Journey Show.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Marlon, for the invitation. I'm honored to be here.
Oh man, it is our honor
to have you.
It is our honor.
Yes,
Hey,
yes.
why don't you start off by sharing with our listeners across the world and travelers? We call them travelers, and I kind of explain this to everyone. You know, Marlon and I, we consider ourselves the link, right? You know, we're not motivators, and we're not the experts, gurus
Yep.
in different spaces. Don't get me wrong, we can dibble and dabble in some of them, but we're not experts. But what we are good at is connecting you from that point of inspiration to the point of information. Woo!
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, I like that.
Hey, write that down, Ricky.
That's another.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That's another T-shirt. That's
There we
another
go.
T-shirt.
There we go. I
There it
love
is.
that.
Right,
Oh,
yes.
Man, good stuff.
It's right there.
So we call them travelers because we're with them on the journey, right?
Nice.
So why don't you share with our travelers, our listeners, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive a little deeper into it.
Okay. Thank you. So my name is Yariela Kerr-Donovan. I'll start with my job, my passion. I serve as the Senior Director for Strategic Workforce Development for Johns Hopkins Medicine. And I also serve as the chair of the Baltimore Workforce Development Board for Baltimore City.
Mm-hmm.
I've been at Hopkins for about 16 years and in Maryland for about 17. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, Williamsburg.
Yes, sir.
But I am actually, my family, I was born in Panama, my brother and I, so somos panameños. And
Right.
and my family moved to Brooklyn, and most of our extended family moved there too. And I went to school. I had all of my schooling in the States. So I did my undergraduate and graduate degree at Cornell University, and have worked in higher education, so served as in admissions, student services, director of minority affairs for one of the colleges at Cornell. I've worked in the hospitality industry, ran room service division, a faculty restaurant and club, and then moved over to school administration. I also have worked in retail, and so I've been assistant manager of a few retail stores for Ann Taylor in New Jersey. And then I've also, obviously, my current role working in healthcare. And it's been very interesting because those seem like such disparate
Yeah.
occupations and careers. But they're, there's a method to the madness, and God's plan just leads you. You may not know the journey yourself. You may only see portions of it, but I can say I've thoroughly enjoyed every position that I've held. And while I was working at the school at my university, I did my graduate degree as through the employee degree program. So I want to say that I've thoroughly enjoyed, not that there haven't been times where there were hiccups and things that didn't work out well, but I always pursued my passion. And in each of those occupations, I was able to find it, and it led me there. And it really led me to everything that I'm doing right now, which I really feel blessed to be able to serve this institution and our city in this way. So that's a little smattering of everything.
Oh man,
love it.
I love when our guests come on and they give us this, large, high level overview, because it gives us so much to go on in terms of your journey. Because I mean, there's so many different aspects of this we're going to pull out today, and we're probably not going to get to all of them, but at least some of them that jump out to us initially to just talk about. So, you started off in working with higher education, going to Cornell for one. I mean, that's an amazing
Ivy League.
Yeah, that's an amazing accomplishment within itself. Coming from Brooklyn, coming from by way of Panama, then go from Brooklyn and then getting to Cornell. Like, talk about that aspect of it.
So it's very interesting. Come from a family where education is always, it's paramount.
Yeah.
One of those things that you have to come correct with the schooling, even if you needed help with something. But that was my job. My mother said, I go to work and this is what I do. This is your job. You have to go to school coming from Panama, it was a bit of a, I remember it. My brother was older than me, but I do remember it being a bit of a culture shock. But in New York and in Brooklyn, you have so many different cultures there. And we had our little Panamanian enclave there that we and so I have to say that I had good teachers, went through the public school system, PS 250, IS 318, which is Eugenio Maria de Hostos Middle School, and then went to John Dewey High School, which was about an hour and 15 minutes on the train from my zone school, which was Eastern District in Williamsburg. Yeah. And so I had good teachers that worked with us. I was very shy as a child because at first my parents didn't let me go outside to play. The boys could go out and play, girls stayed upstairs, and that was fine until a teacher told her, Miss Kerr, you gotta let her play with the other kids. She's a little sensitive. You gotta let her go and play with the other kids that are not related to her.
Yeah, right.
And so she'd give me the names of the girls in her class, and she interviewed the parents and went to their place. They came to ours. My first best friend was Debbie Goldberg. She lived on the 11th floor. I lived on the 4th floor. And being exposed, the teachers were very good, helped with school. If I needed a little help with anything after school, had that help, and good friends. And I enjoyed school. Yeah. And so that was something that I always pursued. I took a test to get into John Dewey because it had the most, at that time, diverse curriculum. I took ballet, jazz class.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I had a variety of different opportunities to take some classes in the arts and some other things. And I enjoyed being there. And I applied to a bunch of different schools. I got into Cornell. I think I was waitlisted at Penn, but I got into Cornell, and I had some schools. My mom always said to my brother and I, "You're going away to college. You're going.
wow.
She always said, "You're going away to school." My brother went to the University of Maryland, College Park, and you're going away to school. So just growing up, you hear that, and it's just like, I'm going away to school,
Yeah.
And I remembered when I got the letter, and I was so scared. I got it, and I was just like, I don't know if I thought, I won't get in. I'll stay close to home. But I got in. My mother skipped all the way down the hall to our unit. She was happy. And by then I was like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
But I was kind of excited and also scared. And I went and I got admitted to the School of Hotel Administration. And let me explain, out of all of the schools there, when I had to decide, like, what did I want to pursue in school? And I really thought about it, and I said, well, I'm not independently wealthy, and I'm going to have to work for a living. And I wanted to enjoy what I was doing. And I also, you could see folks around you that maybe had a skill in a particular thing, but that wasn't their passion in the job. It paid the bills. But so I enjoyed my accounting class, my business classes in high school. So I was able to take accounting in those. And then my mom had a friend who owned a little corner bar in Brooklyn, and we sometimes would make little dishes for the bar, little, like fried rice and different things. And I enjoyed cooking. So I got drafted into the kitchen when my mom could trust me to chop a knife. Yeah. So all of the family dishes I knew how to make, and I enjoyed doing that. Yeah. And so I kind of thought of where could I combine business and all of these other things, and, liked having folks over. We would always go have bingo parties, like the family would have bingo parties and the kids would be there. And so all these little gatherings, and the Cornell had so many different undergraduate schools. Mm-hmm. And the hotel school there was well renowned. The best school in the country. And then I thought, oh, gee, and I could take some of these other classes in some of these other schools as well. There's architecture. And then when I looked at the curriculum at the hotel school, it taught you how to run a business, and it taught you how to run this kind of business. And the philosophy was, they made sure you knew how to do each of the different areas. So I had law classes. I had engineering classes, HVAC, architecture classes. I had to buy a little drafting table and do renderings of how to sketch hotels and guest rooms and restaurants. Accounting, computers, obviously food and beverage, which had food chemistry and all of that stuff. So they made you understand the technical aspects of that business. So if I had to deal with an architect, he couldn't pull the wool over my eyes. I knew what needed to kind of be there.
Yeah.
So all of that, I said, ooh, I'm going to learn all of these different aspects of this kind of business, but I could also expand that to other industries,
Yeah.
But the thing that I liked about the school, Ellsworth Statler, on the plaque, it said life, his mantra, his credo was life is service. The one who progresses is the one who provides his fellow man a little better service. And that always kind of stuck with me in terms of it just hit a chord with me. And so then that's how I got in there and did all of these classes. And when I graduated, I had the opportunity to open up a new hotel, the new hotel that the Marriott had invested in the school, because the school had its own hotel.
Wow.
Where everyone visited, and we did all of our practicums, our clinicals there, our practicums there, the rooms stuff, the food and beverage, everything. And I got the opportunity to participate in the new opening of the new hotel that they had to rebuild. It went from a 50-room inn to a 150-room hotel and conference center.
Wow.
That's kind of, that experience is hard to get. So I ended up
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
staying there. That was my capstone work my senior
wow.
year. And then I just ended up staying there because then I decided I'm graduating. I could go back to New York. I got an offer from the LaGuardia Marriott to work there at the airport. But then the hotel offered me the opportunity to manage my own department.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
It was the
Easy
room
decision.
service. So, and also I had a reasonable salary, and the cost of living in Ithaca was not as
Yeah.
expensive.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was
There you go.
able to pay off my student loans
Oh wow.
working there.
Let's halt right there. All right. So paying off your student loans. I'm not gonna ask you the amount. I don't want to go through.
Well, it was I'm look, I'm old, so it was way back when
but
with
Cornell's
tuition,
still
but it's
Ivy
still, it was
League.
expensive.
Yeah.
It was expensive, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not, but it was still
And it
expensive.
was
So yes,
relative. It was relative. Yeah.
yes.
Yep. Go ahead,
So
Marlon.
with paying off your student loan, was that a focus for you when you said, okay, I got a job, I'm in a position where I can pay it off? Was that a focus for you? And how did you tackle that when it comes to paying off that student loan? Because I need those students out here to hear that, because life doesn't permit a lot of people to pay off their student loans, or they don't think it does. So how did you tackle that?
So there's a little bit of a story there. My mom passed away when I was just finished my freshman year. And I remembered my parents had divorced. It was my brother, my mother, and I, although my dad tried to help out. I mean, so I just remembered feeling like the rug was pulled from under me. No one's gonna cover you like your mom will cover you. Like, I felt like I could no longer be frivolous in my decision making, because if I stumble and fall, while I had family that loved me, they had their own kids and their own families to make sure to take care of first. And if I made, so I just felt like the decisions that I made for my life, I really had to think about like a step or two ahead of what might be the consequences. Because again, while I had family that would help me out, it was a very different feeling than knowing like your mom had your back. And when she passed, we realized that she often borrowed from family and friends to pay for my tuition, unbeknownst. So I had good people that surrounded me at Cornell. I got my financial aid counselor and I were best friends.
Oh wow.
And at the time, I worked all of the time, but I made sure, here's the student, mom passed, and I was able to get more scholarship, but I got a lot more work study. I got a little bit more extra subsidized loans. And I tried to make sure that I couldn't play around with these deadlines and stuff like that. Like, I had to let me get this paperwork done so I could get it in, so I can make sure that I'm in the queue up front to get this money when it was available. So, and that's the kind of stuff that I just kind of tried to manage my work. So when I graduated, and I stayed in Ithaca for quite some time because I moved from that department, running the room service department, to then being a food and beverage manager for the faculty club and restaurant, to then moving over to the school side in administration for the university and student services, because I was helping the students. I was like an upperclassman, but I was really running the restaurant, and students would come over and be like, oh, I'm taking this class. How'd you handle that? Blah, 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 this, that, and the other, and try to help out. And so I ended up moving over to the administration side on the school side as minority affairs director. But my responsibility was recruitment of students, and I targeted underrepresented minority students.
Okay.
I served on the admissions committee, and then I also did student services, helping students. And by the time I finished, and I just kept paying off whatever little bit I could on my student loans. It helped me because it wasn't costly to live in Ithaca. I lived with roommates. And again, I didn't feel like I could be really frivolous with stuff. Not that I didn't do some frivolous things, but I paid it off. It took me a while to pay it off. By the time I left there, I had the loans. I had the loans paid off, and by then I had already done my graduate studies. But the only reason why I stayed there and did the graduate studies, because if you can work for an employer that will pay for your graduate education, work for an employer that'll pay for your graduate education. Recognize that total compensation is not just the salary you get in your check, it's your benefits. And part of your benefits, if tuition assistance is a part of your benefit, it's like leaving money on the table if you don't try to advance it. So take that. So it took a couple of years, but my cost of living was low and I was frugal enough, and I just kept paying it off, but I also tried to balance. Now I know, like my work study, they just kept upping my work study. I would expend the work study dollars that I had because of the hours that I worked. And again, I worked in a space that was in alignment with my studies.
Mm-hmm.
So
That experience.
it always fed that.
Yeah.
And then when I ran out of work study, they just gave me non-work study more money to help pay that off. But that's really, and I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful because I went through a time where it was still expensive, all relative.
Correct.
But that there was a bit of a fear in me that sparked that, like,
Urgency,
I gotta get this off of my plate.
Sense of urgency.
Yeah. Just to highlight that, thanks for going through that. For a lot of listeners or travelers they're on their journey to school and stuff like that. We actually had a episode, and funny enough, the guy's first name is Donovan. And he, going to school, he had $1 million worth of scholarship, and his brother also had $1 million worth of scholarship. And when we did that episode, I was like, Ricky, we're gonna get calls from everybody.
Yep.
Because people are gonna. It didn't happen.
You know what? I advised students when I went to the different high schools and talked to them about what it meant to try to get into an institution. And then I always had a session with the parents. And I tried to hit 9th and 10th graders too. Mm-hmm. Because I said, your research for scholarships should be starting like 9th and 10th grade. Just start. There's tons of money that's out there, but it takes work.
Correct.
And you have to start crafting your little essay or whatever, because you may get a ton of, here's $1,000 here, $5,000 here, $500 here. And you add that all up because there's a lot of monies that go, untapped. But that's like a side job that you may take a couple of hours on the weekend just to research and say, let me get my listing of folks, let me get my little essay established, and then just start sending that stuff out. Yeah. It's also how we talk to people when I did my visits to high schools in preparation for the standardized tests. Mm-hmm. And what I realized after moving from being a student to then an employee in the hotel, and then coming over and being an administrator, and then ultimately a lecturer, because I taught classes there as a lecturer, and started sitting in these classrooms with these professors that taught me, but now I'm a peer. They send their kids on Saturdays to some teacher that retired, and they just practice the test for like 3 hours every Saturday. And they just practice the test. The test. So by the time you take the SATs or the SATs, it's like nothing. Yep. So I said, kids, this is what you need to do. Get someone, and And it's not this Kaplan thing. It was a
No.
retired teacher
Yeah.
who knew math and reading.
Yep.
And just giving you the test and focusing in on the strengthening your strengths and trying to shore up the things that you were struggling with. And when I saw that, I was like, okay.
That's it.
But they started at 10th grade,
Yes.
9th grade,
Yes.
8th grade with practicing this test. They didn't wait till 11th grade to do it and then say, I'm going to, work on it over a weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, me and my wife were talking the same thing with our son, and he's in 6th grade now. I said, well, after 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, that's it. Lock in on that test.
And it doesn't have to be like you give up your whole weekend. It's a 2-hour little excursion every Saturday or something. Just
absolutely
practice.
Yep, absolutely. And keep them in that routine of doing it and being exposed to it. Yep.
Right. Yep. And it also teaches them how to take the test.
That's exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
Yep.
So a lot of people don't understand that it's not that one set of kids are smart, is that they know how to take the test.
They've been practicing that test for 5 years before they actually took it.
Absolutely. Vocabulary.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah. Yep. Some of the schools, the vocabulary that they're teaching the students is all based off of, hey, this is what's in the test. So now I'm so glad you mentioned that. And so it's naturally, as you were sharing your progression and where we are now, you start hearing the passion that you have for youth and, workforce development and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And it seems like you just kind of landed in there based off your interaction with the students that you were working with and the lectures, and then your passion say, hey, this is what you got to do, and start talking to people. So when do you say, hey, when you fully say, I'm going to immerse myself completely into this capacity and this role and really be that influencer in this space?
So in workforce development, let me tell you, so that was my experience working in higher education.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned that I did that administrative work, but then I also taught classes. I was a lecturer, so I had to put classes together and do that. And I always found that fascinating, restructuring, doing some lectures, doing the research, getting that through, and then moved and it didn't work for a while. It was right around 9/11. I was just like, oh my gosh, almost lost my mind. Because I was so I took a little part, and I didn't need to work actually, because I was married at the time. I could have easily have not worked, but I took a little side gig as a for Ann Taylor. I like fashion. I love clothes. And so I said, let me go and help people put outfits together. I can spend my time doing that. And within 2.5 months, I got moved from a salesperson to assistant manager to help running the store, which added another layer. So mind you, I already knew about inventory and stuff from running the restaurant.
Correct.
And just schedules and stuff like that. This was a little different, and got, again, just dealing with marketing, the displays, everything like that.
Yeah.
And I go through this because in each of these experiences, all of the experiences that I've had here have led to the current job that I have now at Hopkins, in terms of an understanding of what our managers and what some of our staff have to deal with, especially if you're talking about like general services, where we're talking housekeeping, nutrition, materials management, like you got an inventory of stuff that need to be deployed in places, cashiering, just what that means, plus customer service, plus dealing with trying to minimize theft in some of these spaces, just all of that. From the retail standpoint. And then again, moved from New Jersey, where I was working with Ann Taylor, and then moved down to Maryland, and again was out of work. But now I had this academic experience of recruitment, admissions, student services, and helping students get careers, like working
Yeah.
with the career services office and connecting.
Yeah.
I had this operations background in hospitality management and both a bit in rooms, but mostly in food and beverage.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had this other retail operations kind of thing, all with a customer service underpinning and always with some opportunity to train others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I got to Maryland, and again, looking for work, and I'm trying to explain what looks like a hodgepodge of careers.
Yeah.
As I'm looking around. So what I did was I volunteered my first year when I got here with I think it was United Way. And meals and it was Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels. Yeah.
Where, how am I gonna? I lived in Bel Air. How am I gonna? I don't know where I am. I don't know the area, so I'll deliver food to people who need it, the elderly who are sick or whatever, and just to keep a little busy. But then I got a 1-year job at Baltimore City Community College teaching their hospitality courses.
Oh, wow.
Online, and had the opportunity to represent the college on what they called a FIPSI grant, an international grant where we had 3 community colleges in the United States and 3 like colleges in Europe. It was Ireland, France, and I forget where the other country was, and they were trying to develop an articulation agreement around the hospitality business. Wow. The other thing that I did at Cornell when I was doing admissions was I created a summer jobs program.
Oh, wow.
For 10th graders who I identified alumni in the areas that they lived, and this was a national thing because this was my attempt to help particularly underrepresented minority students understand the hospitality industry. Because imagine, I had to have the conversations with parents that said, yeah, you're going to spend $40,000 a year in tuition. And you're like, and my son and daughter is going to be a housekeeper? What is this job? No one really sees the general manager or the regional vice president of these hotels. These are the folks that they see. Yeah. But this institution trained you to be in those spaces. So helping folks understand that, I created a summer program where I got a high school teacher, retired teacher, to teach the SAT and ACT. I was able to get them some time in the dorm because I was also, as the director of minority programs, responsible for the pre-freshman summer program, COSEP. I don't know if you remember.
Yes,
COSEP,
COSEP, C-STEP,
right. Those where I had students that were newly admitted. And I had always a cadre of newly admitted freshmen that were come up in the summer, start to take classes. So I got some of these 10th graders, was only for 3 weeks, to come and stay and connect with these newly minted college students, stay connected with an alum in their area, take this class, get a little bit so that they could see what this business was about and hopefully transition into applications. So I add that in because all of those pieces then led to the opportunity at BCCC where I taught their classes. But then because I did, and I got my hand slapped a little bit for creating that program because I didn't go to our development office. One of the first things I did when I got the role over at the school was I looked up all of the minority alumni. And then I reached out to them and then started to talk about what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
And I went to them first. And they gave a little money to help me get this started. And then when I finally went to the dean, I said, well, we got some alumni support already. And so the dean helped kick in the rest because it was something that we were trying to do.
Yeah.
I wasn't that clever. It just seemed logical to me to go that route.
Yeah.
So when I got here, did the stuff at BCCC, was able to represent the institution with the hospitality courses, having taught the courses and gone to the school that I went through to set it up properly so that there was this articulation agreement. And Cornell had the hotel school had the highest international student, because
Oh,
all of the
wow.
international folks sent their kids there
Yeah.
so that they could run their families' businesses back in the Far East or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And then while I was working there, I saw this opportunity for an 18-month grant, workforce development grant at Johns Hopkins, that were going to take some of their jobs, their frontline jobs, and help put trainings and things together that would help them grow their careers. And it was building upon some work that was happening already, but this would bring it to scale across the health system.
Yeah.
And I was so excited by it
That's a
because
good
I
idea.
saw the connection.
It is a good idea.
Hospitality, hospitals. It's everything that you would find in a hospital except the medical part.
Yeah.
So from that business end, I felt I could. And then all of the teaching and the training stuff that I had to do in each of those areas, I went in, and I'm, so two people I'm very thankful for. Deborah Knight Kerr, who was ahead of her time in really starting to create a lot of these pipeline programs that focused on our frontline staff at Johns Hopkins Hospital and the community. And so I really just felt like she handed the mantle over, and I'm just the caretaker of something that I'm trying to make sure doesn't diminish, but just grows because it was handed over or passed on.
Yeah.
And Pamela Paulk and Ron Peterson, because Pamela, I interviewed with her and interviewed with the team and talked about all of these experiences and tried to make the link of what I did in all of these, what looked like disparate experiences, but they were transferable skills. So that's the other thing that we try to tell people. One, talk to somebody, because you're in your stuff. You're going to forget the stuff that you've done. You have to have someone like Q&A you like we're doing now, so I could run through stuff and show the transferable skills. We're talking 3 different industries trying to translate to a fourth. And on the surface, they all look so very different.
Correct.
But these roles, there were transferable skills. And thankfully, Pamela gave me this opportunity for an 18-month grant starting in 2004. And August 17th will be 17 years.
Wow.
August 2001 will be 17 years later.
Wow. Man.
So the other things I think that were helpful was I tried not to stay idle, because I got a little depressed on those days that I was transitioning and I didn't have work, and I was just like, And so I said, well, let me be of use, of service to somebody somehow. So those volunteer things and just driving around and doing that and helped I think a bit. That's how I got into workforce. And when I got in and looked at it was an 8-page concept paper, $3 million grant with the Department of Labor to bring this to scale. 8-page concept paper. I still have that paper. It is so smooth. The amount of times that I've handled it, it is so smooth and created the platform that is really our strategic workforce development office now, built on the shoulders of those who came before me. And just built that up. And I feel thankful because I'm at an institution that recognizes the value, and then now working for the city. And I always participated in the workforce city meetings, because we had youth summer programs, we had stuff with incumbents, and how do we help get these trainings together and funding and whatever. So I always participated. And I think it was in 2017 that someone put my name forward to chair, and I was like, me, like when these things happen, you're like, not me. But then I said, my gosh, I'd really be excited. in part because I knew I'd have a lot to to learn.
Yeah.
And but it's workforce and it's the stuff that I enjoy. So thankfully it all worked out. And it's crazy, but I really feel blessed that I'm working at something. And believe me, they're frustrating days.
Yeah.
They're like frustrating days, but if you work at something you love, even those days that are frustrating, you're always going to have frustrating days, but there's a passion for it that you're like, all right, how do I get over this, around it? How do I figure this out?
Exactly. So, man. I thank you for taking us through this journey because, man, it just shows so much and just being transparent about just the emotions that were associated with it, because there are a lot of people in that valley of, decision or, not knowing what to come next, even maybe through the coronavirus, things they're where they were and the industry that they knew, the career that they knew is no longer, and they're trying to figure out what's next for me. And I love how you just really just were able to, a couple of things. One, step outside of looking at each of the things that you've done in silos and saw the common transferable skills across all of them to identify who you really were, right? And when you understood who you were, you're like, this is what I can offer the world or whatever opportunity that comes in front of me, because it's clear to me, and it may not have been as clear to you as it is now, but when you're going through it, because you're like, man, what in the world? I got to find another hotel or something like that. It's just like, I get it. I get
panic.
It. Yeah, yep. And so, man, it is. And another thing you said was just putting yourself in a position to serve. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And because with serving, a lot of time it doesn't come with a financial benefit or prestige. In a lot of ways.
I call it the line between service and servitude. And working in the hospitality industry, you're trained, even as the GM, if you see a piece of paper on the floor, you pick it up, no matter what your title is, because in that industry, it's like an orchestra. You could have been checked in nicely at the front desk, but if housekeeping or the experience at the restaurant was horrible, the whole team gets a ding. And so that teamwork that's there, we all have our role. And the other piece of it is, when I ran the restaurant, I washed pots. Yeah. I did the dish room.
Swept the floor.
I served in the restaurant. I cleaned. I cooked in the short order. There's no way that I could ask someone to do something that I wasn't willing to roll my sleeve up and do. Right. And sometimes when the operations got tight, I think the team that I had always appreciated the fact that I'd roll up my sleeves and go, okay, what are we doing? I can manage from back here. You give the great customer service out front. I'll do pots. If something comes up, come back, because getting a dishwasher, that's hard. It's hard. You can't serve if you don't got clean plates.
Yeah, I know, right?
And those were just the things that I think, starting out my career that way, when you're talking about what it means to be on a team, that we all have our role, how to follow the leader.
Correct.
You can't lead if you can't follow someone.
Correct.
Whether you agree with them or not, whether if you like them as a human being or an individual or not, it's the position. Yes. And you gotta this is a role, because as a team, we have to get this going. And you never know what people are dealing with. Correct. You may not understand all of the things that your supervisor or a colleague might be going through. It's not all about you. So that measure of grace to go, okay, let me just stay focused on what the job is and do that.
No. You have a passion for the hospitality and it's funny because somebody would be listening to this and now they're replaying in their head when they went into the hotel and how everything worked out for them. And now they're like, okay, I see what was happening in the backdrop. Now, presented with the opportunity, would you ever run your own establishment?
Like what, my own hotel or run my own workforce development business?
Your own workforce development or even your own hotel?
Probably. Yeah, I could. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Because now the hospitality business, I'm not sure. I mean, I think I could, because I think the pieces that I've gotten from it has led me to, and again, I feel a passion. You know, my focus in hospitality was the service that I was providing was helping people celebrate moments in their lives, enjoying vacation, those connections, making sure, creating an experience that was memorable and hopefully feeding their souls in that way. And then with the retail, it's just a little passion that I have. I love clothes, but then imagine what that does when someone comes in, they're looking for an outfit. What does that do for their image, their self-esteem, what they're doing, putting stuff together? Might seem superficial, but it all led to what I'm really doing now, where helping people get employment or get promotions in their job or gain knowledge and skill, which some of which I did up at Cornell when I was, but knowledge and skill that helps them and their families have a better life. That's where it is for me.
Love it.
But that's the theme in terms of when I can sit back and think about aside from the transferable skills, what led me to retail aside from the fact that I like clothes, but then helping people in that way, as opposed to doing data entry somewhere or any other thing that I could have done. And then I tie it all back to, I think some of it is definitely, I'm gonna say God in my family and the family he brought me to. And then everywhere, every step that I went, again, life is service. The one who progresses is the one who provides its fellow man a little more, a little better service. So that was always ingrained. And that's where for me also, it was very hard helping people understand the difference between service and servitude. So when you think about what our environmental care employees do, they are more important than most of the people, and you can keep this in the recording. They are more important than most of the people that work there, including me and the job that I have. And I'll put myself there because if you think of the work, they are making sure that the space is clean and safe for our patients. They are probably, maybe the nurses are in there more, but the folks that clean the rooms or serve are interacting with our patients far more than some other folks. So when you're talking about being in a hospital, these are folks that are directly impacting the experience that this patient is going to have. Now, it's a little different than a hotel experience, but we're still trying to create the same kind of, I feel safe. I feel cared for. My needs are being met, and I matter.
Yes.
You know, it's as you're saying that, a story comes to mind with working with some of the summer interns, and I think I can share it this much. I'm not gonna share it too much details, but you know, one student, I think they wanted to become a doctor, and for that summer he was working with EVS, environmental services, right? So he was a little discouraged because he's like, man, how come I'm not working with a doctor? Why am I working with environmental services? And I had a chance to talk to him. And I didn't even have a conversation with Yariela about this, but I was kind of seeing what are the strengths or what are the positives of you working in this department. I said to him, listen, environmental services goes everywhere.
Exactly.
They touch everybody.
Everywhere.
And if you can serve at that level and have a care for people at that level, imagine the level of care that you'll have for them when you are in a position of providing medical services for them. It just starts to shape you from a young age, man, to really grasp that.
Yes.
And as you're
Yes.
talking, I'm just seeing that, be able to pick up whatever needs to be done to help the overall mission to serve people.
Mhm.
I'm willing to roll up my sleeves to do it.
Create the experience.
Create
Yes.
the experience. Yeah.
And mind you, if the room isn't clean, all that hard work the doctor and the nurses have done are
Don't mean
out the
nothing.
window.
Yep. Don't mean
But
nothing.
you get that more that more human interaction, those
Mhm.
skills. You gotta work at those skills. And I'm not
You
saying
do.
some people are gifted in that way more than others, but your ability to understand human beings, and there's a diversity of people that come in, a diversity of walks of life and experience, and that interaction. Once you get to medical school and you're dealing with the science of stuff, and that's
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah,
fun
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
good and
yeah.
important, but never lose the human touch. And sometimes you got to take your mind out of the science and then just
Mm-hmm.
deal with the human being
Yes.
that may not seem logical, may
Yes.
not seem in a lot of ways, but having that touch, that never losing
Yes.
that common touch is so
Yes.
so important.
Yeah.
Yes, you know who talked? We had Earl Campbell was on our show, and he is the what discipline is he in, Rick?
GI.
GI. He's a GI.
Gastrointestinal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he was talking about a lot of people, they take good tech. They were awesome when it came to the scholastic part of it. But then when they had to do their residency, some people would fold because they didn't have those people skills to actually interact. A baby's in the room and they don't want to take something, they don't want to do something, a 5-year-old. You have to know how to use some skills to say,
Yes.
hey, yeah, to get them.
Yes.
So a lot of people take that human interaction or even just being able to relate to somebody for granted, and they miss the mark of their whole job just because of that. And you know what I love about what you're doing here? I've gone someplace before and somebody has been like, listen, you're coming here, Miss such and such cleans the rooms. That's who you want. When she and at first you're like, okay, all right. But when you leave or whatever, you're like, okay, Miss da da da. Thank God she was, because she made this whole stay just different.
Best experience. Yeah.
Yes.
Best experience.
Yes.
Wow.
And so you can get caught up in a title. You can get caught up. So when we're talking about success, what is it? What is it really?
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, they talk about, be careful about the ladder of success you're climbing up, because it could be up against the wrong wall.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not where you want to be. I think you really have to define for yourself what success. For me, I rarely even think in that term for myself at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I think I feel blessed because I am in a job that I love. It's not perfect. I work for an institution that I respect and admire. It's not perfect, but it strives. I'm able to eat and have a roof over my head. I've grown accustomed to that. So, I need those things.
Yeah, right.
And I'm able to help my family out. I have a little say. I'm content. And sometimes people feel sometimes contentment can be seen as a bad word. It doesn't mean that I don't have aspirations or stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I think this journey is lifelong. And for me, there's always something for me to learn from anyone I encounter. And there's just not enough hours in the day sometimes to try to absorb it all in. But I subscribe to this lifelong journey. When someone says I'm a success, it's almost as if you've arrived and that there's nothing, what else is left? And you can't really think in those terms. And I know people do. And I don't have a replacement for it except to say, please define whatever you want your life to be.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really be truthful with yourself about what will make you happy. Don't look at what is out there. Don't keeping up with the Joneses, that kind of thing, because it'll lead you down a path. Be true to what is really going to be fulfilling for you. So that's why when I go back and I think about when I had to pick college, and I'm like, this is going to be leading to a career. And so I went to what my hobbies were. And could I create? I loved cooking. I loved accounting in the class. So I looked at what are the things that I would spend my free time doing that I could make out a career, and make that a robust list and see, well, where is that opportunity to do that? And whenever I was out of a job and had to find something else, what led me to retail? Well, I like clothes. I like fashion. I look at fashion magazines. So I'll go work for minimum wage and be a sales clerk for a bit. And I worked at that job like I was working for the Lord, and it got me, I then got promoted, and that's the other thing. For me, it's so easy to get caught up in these other things. If you enjoy what you're doing, stay focused on really what the objective is. What is the outcome? And don't deviate from that. Base all of your decisions on the best of what's for the outcome. So for me, it'll always be what's the best for our employees who want to grow their careers, and our departments that need the workforce talent that will take care of our patients, because that's all we're doing this for. And in the community, how do we not leave any talented person behind in our community? I don't care what it looks like on the surface. That's why we have workforce developments. Let's not leave any talented person in our community behind who is going to come and bring the qualities and the skills that will help our patients have the kind of experience that we need for them to have. A stressed patient will not heal properly. A stressed, freaked out patient, it's going to take longer. If we can create a space for them, and it's already stressful. Correct. So if we can make sure that they can feel cared for, loved, important in that space, and it happens on so many different levels. That's what we need to do. That's for me what my job is. It's still about the patient.
Love it.
It's still about the patient, period. Because we're a hospital. It's about the patients.
Love it. Yeah, man. Yariela, man, we are coming to the end of the show, and I mean, this has been great. Like I told you guys from the beginning, I said we're going to get into it, and we're not going to be able to touch everything, but what you have shared so far has brought so much life to myself, Marlon, and our travelers. I would say that right now, our travelers listen to this right now, and we know some of them are going through these similar situations. We know they're out there looking. We know they're trying to figure out where do I start? What do I do? How do I make a pivot? Where do I serve? What is my thing? Where do I grow? And we just thank you for sharing your story, because it brought so much inspiration to those individuals that are just have all those questions. And we want to let all you listeners know, listen, we're here beyond just the podcast that you can see on YouTube and also on any podcast channel, which is great. But we also want reach out, shoot us an email. Our number's on the website. Reach out. I think that's Marlon's number. So call him. Call him up. Bug him. No, just reach out to us. If you have any questions, whatever it may be, look at the show notes for all information about our guests and things of that nature. And listen, we will be back with you guys next week at the same time and the same place on the Success Journey Show. All right, everyone, have a good one. Peace.
Peace.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.